Howdy there, folks. How are y'all doing? My name is Reese, and welcome back to our Tekkit Legends 25, 25, 25, 25, 25, 25, 25 Challenge Cross 25, 25, 25, 15. And today we're going to be building a place to store horses. I believe they call them stables, perhaps. That is my understanding, at least. And we're also going to be talking about my recent sort of break from YouTube, one might call it. I did take some time off from producing videos and never really took the time to explain why or what was going on. You know, I took most of September off. And then even now that we're kind of back here, it's October now. And, well, no, actually, it's November, isn't it? Oh my gosh. How did that happen? What is it, November? Is today the 4th? How did that happen? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, even throughout the month of October, I wasn't really up to producing at full speed. I was doing like a few normal videos a week and then a lot of live stream highlights just because they're quick and easy to throw together. And I would argue that some of them are really good. I think there's some really funny things that happen during those live streams. But, you know, I stopped producing content for a while there. And it all started, and we talked about this in the last episode. If you haven't watched it yet, it's like YouTube Makes No Sense or something like that. I don't know what it's going to be named. It's going to be something along those lines, because gosh darn it if that isn't just the most true thing you've ever heard. I was having a lot of success with the launch of the new Tekkit Legends series. It was boosting the back catalog. I was getting a ton of views, and I am normally pretty level-headed about these things. I normally try to think rationally, and I'm like, you know, normally whenever there's a big boost in views, I'm like, you know, these things happen. It'll calm back down. You know, we'll get back down to the regular numbers. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. Sometimes it makes no sense as to why. But this time, for some reason, I allowed myself to get a little bit too wishful thinking-ish, we'll call it. And I'm sorry, I was getting a phone call there, and I was like, do I answer this in the middle of the episode? No, I don't. No, I do not answer it in the middle of the episode. I don't know. Whatever it was, I'm sure it wasn't important. It's probably the sort of thing. It was my parents' house. They could probably just text me. If I had to guess, I would assume my brother turned to the... Oh, they're calling again. Dadgummit. Okay, so it was my mom, and it was something she could have texted me about. Should I give backstory on that now? Should we, I feel like I'm all over the place. For those of you who aren't aware, I'm very sick, and I'm currently taking a lot of medication, and I had a lot of caffeine to sort of counteract the negative effects of the medication. Mucinex DX is actually really helpful. Like, I didn't buy actual Mucinex. I bought, like, a knockoff brand, but it's the extreme strength, ultra powerful stuff, and it does loosen the mucus, and it does help with the coughing. So get your knockoff Mucinex today, and then, you know, counter that with caffeine, but don't drive heavy machinery. And if you start feeling sad, talk to somebody. I went to the bank this morning to go buy. I had to go buy the Mucinex. I had to go deposit like my check, and I stopped by Sonic, and I got myself a breakfast sandwich there because I was like, I haven't had one of these in a while. This will be nice. And the last time I went to Sonic, I went with my nieces, and I put it on. Like, my mom was like, can you take the girls out? You can put it on our card. And so I put it on her card, and I used the app. And I forgot that it was on her card. So when I went this morning, I also used the app to order kind of ahead of getting there. And I just forgot to swap my card out. So she was worried that maybe someone had gotten a hold of her card and was like, did you go to Sonic this morning? I was like, yeah, I went to Sonic this morning. She's like, oh, okay, I just wanted to clarify. And she needed to call me twice in a row for that. As opposed to just, you know, I don't like texting me and asking me if I'd been to Sonic this morning. But whatever. You know, I get it. Hey, no big deal, Mom. If you're watching, you're not. Love you. So, where was I going with any of this? This story, I feel, is so scattered, and the reason is my brain is firing on 1,000 different places. It's the caffeine, and it is the it is the Mucinex ripoff brand Mucinex, and Tekkit Legends, you know, I got really excited about the growth of the channel for some reason. I normally, now I remember where I was. I normally keep a pretty level-headed about these sorts of things. You know, when the channel starts to do really well, I'm like, all right, well, it's going to go back down. But for some reason this time, it was just week after week for several weeks of just constant growth. It was going up, up, and up, and I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I can start, you know, following my dream of making YouTube not full-time, but, you know, part-time as a living, and the revenue is really good. Also, big shout-out to the patrons. I got, like, a ton of new patrons during that period, and they've stuck with me so far, so thank you so much for that. And I was feeling pretty good about things, and then enough time passed, I think, from the release of that series that the algorithm started to sort of reset and go back to where it was, which I should have known would happen and I should have expected, but because I let my imagination run away with me and I'd gotten really hyped about this huge influx of views, as the views started to drop week after week, I started to get, and I don't want to use the word desperate, but I started to do some not so good things to myself to try to maintain those videos. So some of you may remember throughout a lot of August, I was doing like 3 videos a day, 4 videos a day, and that wasn't easy. It was kind of I was wearing myself thin trying to produce that much content, because I was like, well, if 25 videos in a day is what got it into, like, got the back catalog into the algorithms and got them being served up again, I just need to maintain that sort of level of views just for a while. If I can continue to get the backlog out there, because I was getting a ton of new subscribers too. I was like, okay, if I can bring in a bunch of new subscribers and, drive them toward the new videos as well as the back catalog, and we can kind of grow how well the new videos are doing, then we can kind of ease off trying to release 20 videos a day to keep the back catalog accelerating. That was my logic. It wasn't very logical. I started missing out on sleep, started missing out on like social and family things. I was trying really, really hard to just push this absurd, horrible the schedule that was just unhealthy. And then there was some other things that started happening sort of in my real life. Things that I don't want to get into, because I really just, it's not my place to talk about them. Certainly not with strangers on the internet. No offense to a lot of you folks. I do know a lot of you by name, and I trust a lot of you, but it was a lot of family drama essentially, and some other things that was happening with friends of mine, and it was a lot of sort of emotional punches that I feel like I would have been able to handle just fine at any other time in my life. If they had come up, it would have been perfectly okay, and I would have endured it. And maybe even if all of them had hit at the same time, like if they had hit one at a time, obviously it would have been fine. If they hit like multiple at a time, it would have been fine. But they all hit at a point in my life where I was trying to maintain this unhealthy YouTube schedule, and I wasn't getting enough sleep, and I wasn't getting enough, I call it rec time, I guess, with my friends and with my family. And I was starting to feel drained, and I was starting to feel just like horrible. And I think that kind of all of that combined started to wear down on me really, really badly. And I think that if the views had dropped and I'd kept a healthy schedule and I'd kept a level head, this has happened before. I've had big spikes in views and I've had big drops in views, and I've always kind of been able to maintain it with just a bit of a shrug and that's the game. That's how YouTube works. Not too stressed about it. But because I was driving myself to this sort of unhealthy level of exhaustion, and I had all these other things happening, it for whatever reason, it hit me really hard. Like, it hit me real hard. And I remember early September sitting down to record an episode of, I think it was actually September 7th. I remember the exact date. It was a Saturday. I remember sitting down to record an episode of Satisfactory, and that was the last thing that I recorded almost for the entirety of the month of September. Because after that, I sat down and I kind of looked at the analytics, and I was just like, no, I was shot, because it wasn't working. I was putting all of this work into producing all these extra video, and yes, views were still pretty high, like daily views were pretty high, and it was great, but it was dropping, and it was getting back to where it had been before. It was leveling out. I'd sort of shocked the algorithm, and the algorithm was now sort of being corrected auto-magically, as the YouTube algorithm does. And I kind of looked at that, and I just got super, and I don't want to say depressed. I think that's a really strong word, and it's a really strong sort of state of mind. And I don't think that's where I was, but I remember I finished recording that episode of Satisfactory, and then I just kind of sat back and was like, not feeling it. And I didn't edit it, and I didn't edit sort of any of the videos. I had a ton of videos sort of on the hopper, and I was like, I'm just not right now. And I kind of sat it aside, and it just stayed aside for, several weeks. it wasn't till the end of September that I actually turned around and started working on videos again, and started working on content again. And, you know, I guess right there, towards the end of September, I started doing some live streams, kind of easing myself back in, because I started to, well, fortunately, first off, during that time, I started sleeping again. You know, I started getting a good amount of sleep, the recommended daily amount of sleep. And I started to, you know, things in my world that I was dealing with, you know, IRL sort of issues, started to get worked out between friends, between family, between, you know, all the other things that were going on. And so that started to be like a weight off my shoulders. And, you know, now that YouTube was stabilized back to where it had been before, it was still a bit of like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. But I was like, you know, status quo has been returned. And nothing's better than status quo. Nothing's better than things just being comfortably sat where they were. And hay now. Can you not get hay bales? Isn't that a thing? You can't get a hay bale. Yeah. Wheat. Okay. So all of that to say, things leveled out. Things got to be normal again. And in October, I was like, you know what? Let's not go all in, because I don't want to exhaust myself. I don't want to go back to that place I was at. But, you know, so I was like, we'll do 5 videos a week is what I said. I ended up doing basically 7. I did... that's no good, is it? Does it look like it's like that? That's kind of what I wanted to look for. I wanted it to look like straw floor. So we'll have to do this, I guess. What was I saying? Dadgummit, Mucinex, caffeine, why are you doing this to me? You're supposed to be helping the cause. You're not supposed to be hindering it. So, you know, I wanted to get back into it, and I eased into it by doing 3 videos a week, a bit of live streaming here and there. I didn't want to try to do everything all at once and just end up exhausting myself again, because that wouldn't have been any good either. You know, it wouldn't have benefited myself or any of you either if I went right back in and immediately got burned again. So, yeah, that is how Tekkit Legends twice now in my life has led to some sort of disaster. The first time, it was the stress of having a runaway success and not knowing how to deal with the influx of viewers and comments and the demands that were being put on me by other people. And the second time, it was having a runaway success and not knowing how to maintain it and not knowing how to deal with the stress and everything put on by myself. I did it to myself this time, folks. It was no good. It was absolutely no good. I wouldn't recommend anyone do this to themselves if you can avoid it. And there we go. See, straw floor. That's exactly what I was going for. Still not sure if I like the design of this place at all. In fact, looking at it now, I kind of completely hate it, but we're going to see it through because we've made it this far. There's no turning back now. We need to have some kind of gate here, or maybe not. Maybe we'll have it go down the center, and we can have stalls to either side. Because we can put the fence there, and we can put a fence here. And then we can replace this straw here. Shouldn't be straw. This should be like wood or something. That makes more sense. Oh, man, this thing just breaks materials way too quickly. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can tell you folks, or if there's anything like I left out of that might help it make more sense, because I know I did a lot of yammering. I think that in all of these videos I feel compelled to summarize at the end, just because I know it's been a mess. It's been a disaster listening to me just try to convey thoughts and them coming out as just complete nonsensical yammering, and that's not what I want from my videos. I want them to be cohesive, and I want you folks to hear them and kind of understand. Oh, you know what? We can use carpenter's blocks in here, kind of here, and we'll fill these with glowstone as well, and then that can keep this area lit and keep monsters. Struck me! Why? It's so loud in my ears. It won't be that loud for you folks. Just heads up. It shouldn't be that loud for you. I did not mean to pause there. It shouldn't be that loud for you folks. Good gosh. Okay, there we go. And then we'll fill all of this in. Perfect. This will have to be concrete. I got to figure out where to get the concrete again because I've forgotten. And then we need fencing. So let's see. Fence. Nope. We need gate. We need... Is it not a gate? Is it not a fence? It is a fence gate. Fence? Have I never... Now, wait a minute. No, hold on. Now, come on. Now, we've made this. There's no way we haven't made that. Are you kidding me? How have we gotten this far? Maybe we made it and then we accidentally unmade it, you know, because that can happen sometimes. I'm going to make one of these, and then I think we'll wrap it up. I know that the episode's going to be a bit short right now anyway, because I paused it in the middle to accept a phone call. So we need to keep this going a little bit longer anyway. There we go. So we can actually hit that 15-minute mark. There we go. Fence gates down. Now we just need to move the horses over. And actually, those horses can be pretty wily, so maybe we should add another layer of fencing, at least along the back here. I don't know. Maybe that'll keep out the horse rustlers. Are cattle rustlers are a thing. People must have stolen horses too all the time. That must have happened. I don't know if maybe it's harder, because with the cattle, as long as you can get it sold, it's just going to get butchered. But with a horse, if someone comes walking around like, hey, yeah, that's definitely my horse. No, it's not. Yeah, I know what my horse looks like. Do you brand a horse? I know you brand cattle. I can't imagine branding a horse. I don't know what I don't really know how any of this works. I've never been a ye old West boy. You know, I'm not a city boy either, but I certainly grew up in a modern era where we don't really have, like, cowboys don't exist. Maybe we still brand cattle. I don't know. Surely we just put, like, tracking collars on them, and if they get stolen, we you know, like they have GPS trackers injected into their skin or something. Ooh, but then you could get like a signal jammer and jam like the signal of the cows as you steal them. Who steals cows? It's not the lucrative business it used to be. You know, like the old ranchers, they used to be the wealthiest folks out on the range with all their cattle. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think now if you like run a bank or something, you probably make more money. Something really boring. I think the more boring a job is, the more money you make from it. That's the rule. Whereas if your job is really interesting, like you're an experimental plumber or something, and you work with carbon nanotube plumbing, because that's what we're using carbon nanotubes for, is plumbing. Then you know, it's the most interesting job in the world, but you're not getting paid a lot of money for it, which is ridiculous, because carbon nanotubing, it's like this, yeah, I mean, it's theoretically possible. Have you ever actually made a carbon nanotube, though? Isn't there like a really low success rate for producing them? And now you want to use them for plumbing. That's not really what they're for. They're not those kind of tubes. It's not like PVC pipes, right? You know, you're not gonna have carbon. I guess you could make just carbon fiber pipes, and that's pretty interesting if that's how you want to do your duty. See what I've done there? Or you want to handle your duty with carbon fiber piping. But is there a benefit to you doing that instead of PVC? It's got to be much more expensive. I think carbon fiber is definitely more stable, more sturdy. Hey, is someone... Well, actually, there's several companies that have done this. We now have those devices that can either actively or passively remove carbon from the air, right? And they're supposed to help with emissions. And people are upset about it because, you know, all of the big sweeping climate change proposals they had that are going to radically change everyone's lives are kind of useless now because we can just remove carbon from the air. Can we use that carbon to like do things? Can we use it to make like carbon nanotubing? Or can we use that to create carbon fiber? Is that how that works? Is CO2 yeah, it's carbon emission, right? And that's basically... I think we're done here. I think we've gone way too far beyond the prerogative of this episode. Thank you folks for watching. God bless you. I'll see you later. Bye!